So it's something you need to learn. You have to read the incoming ball. You need to judge the spin and the trajectory correctly. Make sure you maintain a good distance from the table and keep your hand away from the table. A lot of people, when blocking or quick counter and almost put their hand right on the table. Counter looping builds on those fundamentals, but you step back a little, then you counter loop. And what's the timing that are you counter looping? You're counter looping at the top of the bounce, because when the ball bounces and reaches its highest point, that's when the spin is weakest. When we counter loop, again, you have to contact the top of the ball. Why the top of the ball and the highest point? Because when you counter loop, remember this, your center of gravity should not be too low. Now, I know you've seen, I'm afraid some of you will argue with me on this, so don't. Yes, many of you have seen low balls being counter looped, but those are highlight reel shots. Often in matches where the ball is extremely low and players are basically gambling, taking a risky swing, it's extremely difficult. But generally speaking, the best time to counter loop is at the top of the bounce. That's the most consistent point for a counter loop. When we counter loop, our center of gravity can be slightly higher. What do I mean by higher? I don't mean standing straight up. It means you can lift your hips up just a little and get up on your toes, lifting your heels. Put a little energy into your toes and counter loop. What does the counter loop feel like? You want to wrap over the ball from above. If you try to counter loop and your hand is below the ball or even level with it, you will not make that shot. Watch Xu Xin counter loop. His counter loop looks like this every time. Why? Because he's able to first get his hand above the ball and contact the top of it. The contact point is the top of the ball. In doing so, he neutralizes the incoming spin. If your racket angle is too flat or too closed, that ball will fly off the table. When the opponent loops with heavy spin, you have to keep your hand high. Do you all understand that? Does that make sense to everyone? Who said the backhand counter loop is the same? Come on, everyone. It won't go into the net. Because the opponent's ball is so spinning, you have no choice. Like I said just now, if the opponent's loop doesn't have that much spin, I don't need to keep my hand as high. Listen carefully, everyone. You have to read the incoming ball. What I just described was when the opponent loops a slow, heavy spin loop. I have to be above it to counter it. That's how you keep the ball down. But if the opponent loops a lighter, more casual ball, I don't need to press down as much. I don't need to keep my hand that high. I can just play it like a regular loop. So when we talk about counter looping, if you want to practice it, you should be counter looping spinning balls. What does counter loop actually mean? It means looping back the opponent's loop. Right, but if the opponent doesn't loop, or if there's no spin on it, then it's not a counter loop. It's just a regular loop on your part. If the opponent just pushes it back to you, that's not a counter loop. That's just looping. It's not difficult. It's not a challenge. So, if you're going to counter loop a more difficult ball, with heavy spin or a high arc, you need that feeling of raising your hand up. And your hand should go backward and upward. That's how you counter loop. Not like this, and not straight back like this. Lift your hand and counter loop over the ball. It'll be more stable, much more stable. As for your center of gravity, it depends on the height of the ball, whether you stay low or get higher. For instance, if the ball is high, like around here, I'll stand up a bit more and counter loop it there. I don't need to squat down. If it's lower, I'll lower my stance accordingly. But whenever you're counter looping, you must contact the top of the ball. If you take a path around the side, it's going to fly out, no doubt about it. Understand? So, what is a counter loop? It's not just any loop. If someone you're playing is just pushing the ball over without spin, that isn't a counter loop. Then you're just looping, plain and simple. So what I'm talking about is counter looping high difficulty balls, for example, heavy topspin, when the opponent plays a slow loop with a lot of spin. How do you counter that? Same principle for counter looping. Remember this. In a neutral stance, you still want to counter loop. When counter looping, you can open up your stance by stepping back. Because the ball is slower, and it's high, you have more space. Once you've made your read, open up your feet. Create space for your whole stance. At that point, step back with your right foot. Your motion can be more extended. Stepping back is fine. Open up your arm. At the moment you counter loop, you must contract and wrap over the ball instantly. Wrap it. Counter looping is really more about feel the touch, the overall motion. That is to say, you can lift your hand a little higher and contact the ball on the top, at the high point, and counter loop it. Always try to hit the upper part when counter looping. Alright, 0 to 1, 1 to 1, 2 to 1. 3 to 2, 4 to 2, 5 to 2. 6 to 2, 7 to 2. 7 to 3, that's about right. When we counter loop, you have to find that feeling. You saw why I got jammed earlier. Because if I want to counter loop, I need to wait for a slower ball one that's high and slow, with a high arc. But if I tried to counter loop a ball that's driven fast and flat, you saw why I hit it off the side because he didn't loop high, he drove forward. That type of ball isn't suited for a counter loop, and it often goes off the side. So, what should you watch out for when counter looping? Well, you need good spacing. If the opponent loops slowly, you have enough room to open up. But if the ball comes fast, you need another approach. You'll have to accelerate your swing. It's different. Understood, everyone? It's okay, it's not the venue, it's just my own level. Way too low. Let's do a few more, come on. Yeah, keep it like that. It's fine if I miss. Just keep looping with heavy spin. Keep the spin heavy. It's okay, just stand in the middle so they can't see you. Nice. 1 to 1. 2 to 1, 3 to 1. That feels much better. 4 to 1, 5 to 1, 6 to 1. Right. 7 to 1, 8 to 1. 9 to 1, good. The counter loop targets the top of the bounce, not the rising point, the high point. The high point. Come on. I'll block a few and fast loop a few. Let's go. Serve it. Right. These socks were from the 8A team. The 8A team was sponsored by Andro. See the combination of block and loop drive here. I read his shot when he loops high and slow. I block. If he drives forward, I do quick counter. I observe and decide based on his motion and preparation. After I read it, I choose my response accordingly. For those of you who feel that blocking is simpler, and your current level is comfortable with that, you can try counter looping. Counter looping is more challenging, but if you're a beginner, you can start by focusing on solid defense. Good defense is itself a very valuable skill. Quick reaction. You have to be quick. If you're not quick, if you're not fast enough, you can't make it work. Or if your opponent plays high loops, you can step back and counter loop. It all depends on your own level and ability. Backhand counter looping is rare, very few people use it. Not many people can counter loop with their backhand like they do with their forehand. It's extremely difficult. The backhand counter loop is too hard. Now, don't get me wrong, it's not that I can't do it or I don't want to share it with you. But what situations actually call for a backhand counter loop? Usually, it's when two players are trading loops from mid-distance, or when there are a lot of lobs. After someone lobs, and the opponent loops it back from mid-table, some might call that a counter loop, but it's actually just a rally and exchange. So what is a counter loop? A counter loop is when you push the ball short, and the opponent loops it back with heavy topspin, or after you serve, and they flick it over with spin, and you loop it back. That's a counter loop. That's the definition. Now, if I push first, and the opponent loops high and heavy, and I backhand counter loop, have you ever seen anyone on the Chinese national team do that? I've never seen a backhand counter loop from anyone on the Chinese team. But I have seen them from mid to far distance, like when there are high lobs, and they hit a backhand loop. That's a counter. But it's really a rally between two players. That's a rally, not a counter loop. Everyone, you've got it wrong. What is a counter loop? You don't understand what a backhand counter loop really is. You haven't fully grasped it yet. Listen up, everyone. You see many players from mid and far distance using a backhand loop motion. That is not a counter loop. You need to be clear on what a counter loop actually is. Okay. What kind of ball is a counter loop? It's when we push, for example, if we push long, it goes off the table, and the opponent loops high and heavy, and we counter loop that incoming loop. That is a counter loop. Another example, if I serve and it goes long, and the opponent loops high and heavy, and I loop it back. That's a counter loop. But when two players are trading loops from mid to far distance, that is not a counter loop. Because the spin isn't like a heavy loop spin, it's not that strong. So to this day, on the backhand side, there really isn't anyone who, for example, after the opponent serves, uses a backhand counter loop against a heavy loop. Are there some who can? Yes, there are. But it's definitely not common. There are isolated cases, but it is not widespread. Remember this clearly. Keep this in mind, everyone. Don't go trying to learn a backhand counter loop the wrong way.